Sure. Thank you all very much. As Brad said, my name is Mr. Jordan Frederick, and I teach all the jazz bands here at Montgomery Bell Academy, as well as the school rock band. I work with the freshman class and also help Mr. Artisan with some of the out west expeditions, so I feel very fortunate to be here. Coach Lee spoke at our assembly last week, and I certainly echo his sentiments that most days I don't feel like I deserve to be here at the school, but I certainly try to work hard every day to earn it. So there are just a few things that I wanted to talk to you about that inform who I am as a person and who I am as a teacher. And the first and the most important is relationships. I grew up down the street at Belmead United Methodist Church, and my grandfather sat right next to me in the pew. That was probably mostly to control my behavior, but what I noticed through that is when we would take communion, the entire church would line up on the pews and walk down the aisle. And every single person in that church would lay a hand on his shoulder, or he would reach out and maybe touch them or grab them or say a word or share a smile. And what that showed me from a very young age was the power and the value of relationships. And so I've carried that forward into my life. So with my students, that's the most important thing to me, is our relationships together. Now, as a music teacher, we have an incredible power and responsibility because oftentimes we see our students every single day for all 6 years of their time here at Montgomery Bell Academy. That's a huge power and carries a huge influence, but also a lot of responsibility. So because of that responsibility, I choose to focus on a lot of things because we end up teaching them a lot more than music while they're here. And one of those things is details. To me, the small things are very, very important. I love this picture over here, and I have it right next to my computer where I work every day, and it says, "I don't know a single successful person who leaves their shopping cart in the middle of the parking lot." And what that kind of informs me is that I've got to take care of the small things. I've got to make sure I take care of all of my business. Now for me, those small things are like when all of my students enter my room every single day for every single class. I want to say their name. I want to shake their hand, give them a fist bump, tap them on the shoulder, and ask how they're doing. Every student, every class, every single day. Those small details are important to me. I'm reminded of a Tolkien quote that Gandalf made in The Hobbit, that it's the small deed of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay, small acts of kindness and love. And to me, the darkness for our students can be complacency or mediocrity or feeling like they don't belong. So those small details for me can help combat that darkness for our students. Now for the students, the details that I kind of ask them to focus on are a little bit different. Things like straightening up your chair in your row when you leave the class, making sure if you have any little bit of trash, you pick that up and throw it away. You keep the room clean at all times. You make sure you're in your seat, prepared to play. They know exactly the minute I'm going to drop the first downbeat in class, and I expect them to be prepared for that. Things like when we have singers at our rock band or at Chalophony that are from Harpeth Hall or St. Cecilia, when we have girls visiting, that if we have a late night rehearsal, that the boys walk them to the car when it's late at night. Just details like that, that over the course of a long time, I hope make an impact on them. And what that also does, Coach Lee mentioned in our assembly last week, it tethers us to standards. Those small details sort of set a standard of excellence that I hold in really high regard in all of my classes and with my students. I'm reminded of another quote that a string only rings freely when it's bound by 2 points. And to me, those 2 points are what you're doing now and what you want later. The second thing that I think is really important to focus on is the process and not the product. Cy Oliver wrote a great tune, the lyrics of which, and it's also titled, "It Ain't What You Do, It's the Way That You Do It." And I think that's really important to remember. If we were just product-oriented, most of the time when people see us perform, that's just the product. And most of the time that's outside of class, at some event. But the process is much, much more important to me. We teach our students discrete skills and techniques. We have a warm-up for their tone production, sounding good on their instrument. We have a warm-up so that the brass can flip between their partials. We have a warm-up for style and articulation so we can align the way we sound. We have a warm-up for tuning our instruments. We have a warm-up for improvisation over different chord changes. We have a warm-up for rhythm and attacks. We have all of these discrete skills so that when we see a piece of music, we're not starting fresh every time. When they encounter all the elements that are inside of music, they already know what to do for each and every single one. So that kind of helps us work a little bit faster. And down there, of course, we work for weeks to perform for minutes. And that's good for them to keep in mind because ultimately, the product, although it's what everyone sees, is much less valuable than the process. And there's a great Leonard Bernstein quote that's taped up in the music storage room that says, To achieve great success, you need a plan and not quite enough time. And I absolutely love that quote because we all find that to be true in our lives. We're always rushed to do something, but that process is so important because all the little details, if we can keep track of those, we can be successful through our plan. And then the next slide is sort of a little bit of a joke at the faculty meeting. The IT department always puts up their email address, and they want everybody to email it@montgomerybell.edu so that the emails go to the entire IT department. So I reminded the faculty that if they want to email the music department collectively, they can email us at music is not an extracurricular activity at montgomerybell.edu. Because it's so easy to think all of our performances are outside of school. So it's easy to kind of associate us as an extra activity. But I remind the faculty that we do a lot more than learn songs. We teach the students about music history, about music theory, about reading and writing music intelligently, about improvisation, about listening to jazz solos and transcribing them. We work really hard with every single minute we have in class. Music is a part of a lot of our students' identities. Between the choirs, bands, and orchestras, we see almost a third to a half of the student population. So for half of our students, music is a part of their identity. It may not be their whole identity, but it's a part. And I reminded our faculty that I hope they can sort of cherish and respect that part of our students' identity. So like I tell my students, it's always a lot better if I stop talking and we start playing. So I've got two of my advisees and students, Matthew McMinn and William Gu, and we're going to perform A Taste of Honey a la Paul Desmond for you this morning.